Oh my god, I finally did it. They said I was crazy, but I finally found it. I finally found the real-life save icon! Yes! Anyway, welcome back to Super Festival. Once again, I am your host, Jordan Sparks, the Director of Technology here at the Hand-Eye Society, and I'm here to show you some Super Festival goodness with our amazing talks and events. We've got a great show for you tonight, but before that, be sure that you're getting the full Super Festival experience as much as you can, because you can check out at least some of our 4-part hybrid Super Festival event no matter where you are in the world. First, we have the Super Festival website, which you can access at bit.ly/HES-Superfest. Here you can find out all about this week-long event, the 30-plus games being featured, all the upcoming talks, and more. Definitely go check that out and discover more games. The second part is, of course, the Twitch show that you are watching, which will be every day from 6 to 9 p.m. Toronto time, aside from Sunday, which will be 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Follow us to find out when we go live, and also check out the Super Festival website for more details on the schedule. The third part is the return of our legendary Torontron arcade machines. If you're in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can visit several venues in the city throughout the week to play some of the Super Festival featured games on location. Finally, there's the return of our famous Hand-Eye Society Ball, our fancy party for the Toronto game dev community, happening this Saturday, November 30th at 6 p.m. in Toronto. It's sure to be a fun time, but don't wait. Tickets are limited, and as of now, they're almost sold out. If you're in Toronto, be sure to grab a ticket and join us there. This is our 3rd annual Super Festival, and it is once again stacked with amazing talent. However, we wouldn't have been able to do it without all of our amazing sponsors. So thank you to Ontario Creates, the City of Toronto, the Province of Ontario, the Toronto Arts Council, the Ontario Arts Council, and the Canada Council for the Arts, as well as our studio sponsors Clever Endeavor and Stella Maris. Thank you so much for your support. Well, that's it for me. I'll be back later, but for now, let's get our game on and enjoy today's talks and games. Happy Super Festival, everyone!
Believe me, go straight till the morning, no lie, we won't wait. And we're taking everything we want and we can do it all straight. We ain't stopping, believe me, go straight till the morning, no lie, we won't wait. And we're taking everything we want and we can do it all straight. No slip, all straight.
Inside every creator lies a guiding star, a unique vision waiting to illuminate the world. At Stella Maris, we're not just a partner, we're your compass. With tailored mentorship, essential tools, and unwavering support, we nurture your brilliance. Discover your path, unleash your creativity, and let your star shine brightly.
In this corner, Punch Facer. And in this corner, Tim.
And it's over! Sorry, folks, but the only rule is kill here at Blood Dome 99! Use this gun! Use more guns! Use whatever this is! Use guns to shoot the infinite ineffable mystery of our own spiral galaxy! Earn more money so you can spend more money on more upgrades, or weapons, or arenas, or Cannibal Dog. But don't spend too much. You still have to buy your freedom! Enter the Blood Dome, choose your weapon, and fight to escape the future of 1999! Available now in early access. big gun.
What's she gonna? What's she gonna do?
The big gun.
What's she gonna? What's she gonna do?
The big gun.
Where's she gonna? Where's she gonna go?
The big gun.
Where's she gonna go? Alice's mom is in trouble with a really bad guy. Ricky's gotta have his money and her purse was dry. So Alice taking grift lessons from a guy named Ted. And she's skipping out of bed camp.
Adventure instead.
So get ready for adventure and see Allie pull off.
The big gun.
Give me money, give me my bag.
The big gun.
Give me money, give me my bag. Step one, Allie test those skills. Pickpocketing is tricky, but she gotta get those bills. If Ted thinks she can handle it, I'll bring her along. He's got a job in Las Vegas.
And what could go wrong?
So get ready for adventure and see Allie pull off.
Talking, sneaking, hustling away to the end. Allie's got what it takes. Faking, disguising, joking, cross the country with Ted till he raises the stakes. Till he raises the stakes.
The big gun.
Hop a train, cause you won't go the law. Get the cash to save the video store. Find a payphone, check in on your mom. Get the cash to save the video store. Get the cash to save the video store. Get the cash, save the video store. So get ready for adventure and see Allie pull off.
The big gun.
Hootin' doo, ah.
The big gun.
Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody is doing well. Happy Thursday, and welcome back to the Jam. We are once again live for day 4 of Super Festival. If you're watching from the US, happy Thanksgiving as well. Hope everybody is doing all right. We are actually live right now, so I can actually see the chat, and I'm right here. But we have some speakers today that are going to be great, and I can't wait to tell you all about them. One thing I love about my job at the Hand-Eye Society is that despite being in Canada, I get to connect with indie developers from all across the world. Since we began shifting our programming and festivals online 4 years ago, it has opened up a whole new world of amazingly talented developers to talk to and connect with. We've been able to connect with hundreds of diverse creatives located all around the world that we might otherwise never meet, and that's fascinating to me. With unique respect, and they all have unique perspectives that we can broadcast through online events like Super Festival. The benefits of this are all the more apparent with with both of our speakers today, and including our next live speaker, who is also the maker of a game in this year's Super Festival showcase called The In-Between. So, here to give a live talk all the way from Lagos, Nigeria, about his game developer pilgrimage and teaching us the right tools to make emotional games, please give a huge Hand-Eye Society welcome to VCD. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. So, and also happy Thanksgiving. I can't forget about people in the US. So, today we'll be going through a simple talk that is all about embarking on our indie dev journey. But before I proceed further, I would like to introduce myself again. I'm Victory, but well, you can easily just call me VCD. I'm from Nigeria, and I'm the founder and lead developer at VCD Studios. How did I get it? Oh yeah, so apparently I was too lazy to get a wizard hat for today's talk. I mean, today's talk is actually all about embarking on our adventure, so it would make sense if I kind of presented things kind of like a wizard, for the adventurous vibe. But yeah, here we are. So, as I've been introduced, we are currently working on the In-Between, which is an emotional Metroidvania that is all about choices. So, I'd like to be able to share my 2 cents on how it is like and how you need to go. So without further ado, let's begin. So game development is one of the best career paths in the world. At least that's my take on it. You get to build amazing worlds, tell awesome stories, and create something fun or unique or horrible, but mostly fun and unique. And the proof is in the pudding, given how the video games industry is highly profitable just as much as the music and the entertainment industry as a whole. but it can be tremendously hard. Like for people that are already knee deep into development or into their careers, but it can also be just as hard, if not twice as hard, for people that are just trying to get into. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this picture right here is speaking wonders to a lot of people right now. And yeah, so let's just say game and getting into game development can be very overwhelming to say the least. So how do we jump in? What kind of tools do we use? What do we need to learn? Do we need to finish that computer science degree that we decided to drop out of like 7 years ago? So the list goes on and on. Well, I like to say fret not, because if there's one thing that has been consistent in the industry, it's usually help from one another, either from a veteran to a newcomer, just like yourself or your fellow peers. So yeah, I would like to use this chance to offer the information that I've been able to attain throughout my time as a game developer. And yeah, I like, oh, no, sorry, not just like, I love comparing a lot of everyday things to video games because it makes a lot of things much easier to understand. And it's a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, I use Tetris when I'm deep in thought. So this is us right here. We all start from here. That's Link in the overworld in the original Legend of Zelda. So at some point we end up starting our game dev journey, like in the middle of nowhere, just nowhere to go, nowhere to really see things through. And just like that, there's that cave. That's that nugget of an opportunity where you get to meet something or someone. It could be YouTube, it could be anything at all, or anybody that you get to meet, or maybe a fellow developer that you managed to get in touch with because you like that person's game, anything. So that's basically the old man in the cave that will tell you it's dangerous to go alone and take this. And like I mentioned here, there's pretty much nowhere else to go but into the cave to get equipped in knowledge. So for today's talk, these are the things that we would currently need to do, avoid them, which is to pick our steed, basically our game engines and other tools that we need to make our games. We also need to make our dream games. We also need to understand the grind and the side quests, basically the power of smaller projects, the character interactions, aka networking, or how it is when you talk to NPCs. Then we also have the final boss. That's the power of an emotional game, or basically a fun game in general. Something that can evoke that sense of, it could be anything from sadness to joy to just pure nostalgia. Heck, even rage and hatred, because yeah, a lot of games do that these days, I think. So let's get started with the very first one, which is to pick our steed. Pardon the Tears of the King, the Twilight Princess stuff, by the way. I love Zelda. So a long time ago, we got Unreal, Godot, Unity, GDevelop, and so much more. A long time ago, the many game engines lived together in perfect harmony. Then everything suddenly changed when the Unity engine suddenly grew in popularity. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to stop with the avatar stuff for now, but basically you can't get the gist. So we have so many tools at our disposal for making video games. How do we pick one? Which one should we pick? So let me kind of tell you a very quick story. There was this bright-eyed person that was in the middle of high school, or the second year of high school, and really wanted to make games ever since he was a kid. So ever since he got that chance to yank his mom's laptop in the early hours of the morning, like let's say 3, 4 a.m. in the morning, he decided to use that chance and the internet, of course, covers a lot of coding for sure, to end up looking up what kind of tools that I could use to get into it. Something such as, okay, you need to be a programmer, got to learn some Python or C or C++ or C Sharp. Then he also discovered game engines for the first time. Well, not really the first time, because before then that person was using the likes of Scratch. I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with Scratch already at this point. The building blocks for game engines at this point. So he discovered Unity, and he saw a lot of people that really recommended Unity and like, okay, fine. The engine is a bit large, like 8 gigabytes of data large. He decided to do it anyways and face the punishment later from home. He got it. However, there was just one tiny problem. The engine was claimed to be super easy for beginners, but unfortunately for that little bright-eyed boy, it was a little bit of anything but. He looked through tutorials, the documentations, hoping things would stick, but it kind of came in one year and left out the other, which was kind of discouraging to say the least. Like, what was he doing wrong? What's going on here or there? And there weren't much opportunities to meet up with people to know how to truly learn, or no such thing as a course at the time. So fine, decided to leave Unity for now. Then he went as far as getting the likes of Stencil. You know what? I'm just gonna skip to the next slide because that's kind of spells off. Yeah. So start from scratch. He ended up moving to the likes of Stencil because Stencil kind of had this visual scripting kind of feature that was very similar to Scratch. So he figured out that would have been the best way to get started since you had some experience in Scratch and it would have been good. It didn't turn out so good. Then he went to the likes of Game Salad. If anybody can identify Game Salad today, say in the chat or something. But yeah, he went to the likes of Game Salad. It was also difficult and tricky to use and kind of limited as well. Went to Unity again, same issues. Then went to the likes of Game Maker Studio 2, which required a mandatory login, which so that kind of person going up in a region where internet was as precious as the ring in the Lord of the Rings, it was also very difficult and annoying, basically. So Game Maker Studio was out of the way. Then he went to GDevelop. It was kind of there, but it was difficult as well. It was kind of just going in and out, which didn't really feel right. So we went to Construct 2. He was getting it. And it was kind of like, it was almost like a brain fog moment, like, okay, this could be the one, like the Neo that I was looking for. But the guy also kind of wanted to make 3D games, so he decided to check something else. He had been seeing a lot of games out there like Hitman, Batman, Arkham Knight, and Arkham City, that kind of stuff being created in Unreal Engine. So he figured maybe he could learn how to make Unreal Engine on a device, on a laptop that was as old as 2009. Basically, I could insert the crisis meme right here of it burning the laptop, but we can't get the gist. So yeah, it was kind of too heavy. So Unreal was out of the picture. He went back to Construct 2, and it was a match made in heaven. He used Construct 2 constantly until he decided to export his very first project and came across the licensing. And yeah, I forgot to mention, but that bright-eyed person was pretty much broke and in high school, so the savings would not have helped. Which led him back to GDevelop after 3 months of the entire game engine pilgrimage. And that was when, after playing with the templates, it just clicked. Next thing you know, he was suddenly using GDevelop comfortably and it was easy. And fast forward to today, that person is using GDevelop. So that ended up being the winner, as we see in this chart right here. Now, what is the main takeaway from this? Does that mean that we need to suddenly start using GDevelop for 2D games instead of likes of RPG Maker, Game Maker Studio, or Unity, which everybody knows Unity has more features than a lot of game engines out there? I won't sugarcoat it. No. But what are the key takeaways that this bright-eyed person, which in reality is actually just me, learned? The first was actually that word of mouth, it can be a very powerful and a very useful way of figuring out what to do or what to use or what to buy. But relying on that alone can kind of ruin the experience at all. It can kind of just kill the adventure. Because it may be like, okay, let's say a lot of people suggest you use this particular thing, but I actually wanted to make something lighter. It would kind of not really work right. So basically, what I'm trying to say is the tools that we use are like cars. Let's say Unreal Engine is a Lamborghini. Yeah, it's pretty much a sports car, a race car. It's only just 2 seats. It's super fast. It's bulky. It can go fast. It's got that a ton of horsepower and all. But you want to make something light. You want to make something not even like something light. You want to make something that is kind of bulky or something that can handle a lot of things, but something that's kind of just right for the job. So basically, let's say you have a family of 6, you can't fit them all in a sports car. That wouldn't make sense. So in order for that to happen, you will need the likes of a Sienna or something. So that's kind of how the engines are. You wouldn't really want to use Unreal Engine to create a Game Boy game or a pixel art kind of game, especially if you're not going for the Octopath Traveler kind of art style. So that's kind of where I'm going at. Of course, if you do end up actually having some experience in the likes of Unreal Engine or Unity, and you can make that, you can still go ahead. Because there's another key takeaway from the entire choice of a tool, which is comfort. You wouldn't just pick a tool just based on word of mouth. You'd actually want to pick a tool that is based on what you feel is actually right for you. And it will be hard to truly know what's right for you without actually experimenting. A lot there's a joy in variety, so you gotta have a lot of options that are just sent to you, which will actually allow you to even make use of the tools. Which is why this meme also exists. And yeah, I'm one of those people, if you know what I mean. And yeah, the tools I basically use are GDevelop for the game, Clip Studio Paint for my art and animation, and FL Studio for the music. This last part was debatable because I was kind of jumping between FL Studio and Soundtrap, heck, even Audacity of all things. And I still use those tools, but FL Studio is basically my main, kind of like in Smash Brothers. And the same technique that I use for picking these tools kind of applies to anything at all. It could be for 3D software. Should I use Maya? Should I use Houdini? Should I use Blender? Or for music software, should I use some, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, Ableton Live, FL Studio, Soundtrap, and likes. Or should I use Clip Studio or Sprite or Krita or GIMP? It pretty much applies the exact same way here. So with that out of the way, let's get to the main event, the cream of the crop, which is to make our dream game. Not. So, like, you can't, like, don't get me wrong, you actually have the choice to hop right in and actually make your dream games while learning on the go. Since no matter how many smaller projects you actually get to work on, diving into your dream game is almost always like stepping into uncharted waters and would always require that leap of faith. However, you'd have to keep in mind that in time, that like the time as well as the risk and the pitfalls when it comes to doing that. Not to mention there's always that one point in our lives when you're just starting out in the industry, especially for people that don't really have experience in the game industry at all. They'll just simply jump right in, hoping to I don't know, create the next GTA 7, or as we say, like jokingly, like locally here, to suddenly make the next Nigerian God of War or something like that. But yeah, the result is pretty much the same as the GIF over there, which is why we would have to gain some experience first and foremost. And one of the best and efficient ways to do that is via the grind and the side quests. So what do I really mean by that? Now, let's say in a video game, you have to fight the final boss, but naturally, if you go there in level 1, the boss is gonna kick your ass. It's almost a no-brainer, unless maybe you were somehow so cracked that you managed to, you know, find exploits and manage to beat the boss in 30 minutes or in 5 seconds, like Super Mario speedrun or something like that. But let's be honest and real here, that the chances of that happening in real life in the video games industry is very, 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 very slim, and it's still strongly not recommended, which is why we have to do it the usual way in an RPG, which is to farm EXP or experience points or reputation. And one of the best ways to do that is through the power of smaller projects. So how do we go about these smaller projects? So there are three or two major ways, but I was just gonna say three. So we have video game jams. We also have hobbies or casual projects, just that thing that you do on the side. And we also have the likes of internship. Let's say you were kind of schooling in computer science or something related to video games, and you saw a chance, like maybe you could do some internship work as a programmer or an artist or an animator in the video games industry. There's also that, because that experience could also be very useful. Then simply gonna end up following on game jams a lot. So what do I mean by game jams? For those that are not really in the know, a game jam is basically a period where you are tasked with creating a game within a short amount of time, and it's usually based on a theme. And some game jams can actually include prizes. It could be monetary or exposure, like maybe you get featured on whoever is hosting the jams YouTube channel, like GMTK and stuff like that, or even a sponsorship. So the one I'm gonna highlight the most is game jams, of course, because the advantage of that is unlike hobbies or casual projects or internships where maybe you're working as an intern on a project, maybe the studio decided to shut down or the game got scrapped. And also there's also the fact that you as the intern wouldn't really have that much creative freedom over that project that you'll be working on. And as a hobbyist, you could end up spending months or years on that project without really doing it on time, like without really taking note of the likes of speed or efficiency, like how to I finish this thing on time. So we have to kind of train ourselves, we have to discipline ourselves on how to make games efficiently during that time frame. So that's why game jams are usually recommended. So in a game jam, some usually range from like 2 weeks or 2 days or 4 days, like the GMTK game jam again. And the advantage of this is because it's easily helps reduce the likes of scope creep or feature creep, and it forces you to actually think outside the box or within the box to create a game that is not only interactive but also fun and entertaining within a very short time frame. And it is probably one of the fastest ways to actually boost your portfolio as a game developer. So pretty much at the end of the day, when you end up starting and after you finish a couple of projects or unfinished projects, you end up getting a lot of skills. Maybe you end up becoming a better artist or a better programmer. You end up finding ways to create your code efficiently, that kind of stuff. And there's also a very large level of satisfaction when you actually finish building a game compared to just making your dream game right off the bat, where things are going to be shaky and uncertain. Like, come on, your portfolio is going to get started tonight. However, there's one moment of caution that I'll just like to say regarding game jams and all. Like, it is very, very recommended that you actually take the time to gain enough experience when making smaller projects over and over. But there is such a thing as playing things too safe, like not really stepping out of your comfort zone. So, like, if you end up just simply, oh, okay, yeah, there's a better example. Let's say in an RPG, you were in level 1 and you were maybe killing a couple of cows or something. Okay, fine, you leveled up, you're in level 2, level 3, you were gaining a lot of experience points at that time, but by the time you end up reaching the likes of level 10 or level 15, and you keep attacking and gaining XP from the same creature that you keep killing over and over, the grind ends up becoming longer and longer, and you never really get to level up, never face any proper challenge, and you never get to truly grow your character in that game. So that's pretty much the same thing here. So you can't keep like working on smaller projects from time to time, but there's usually a time where you'd have to like stop and think about what could have been when you would actually like get to make that ambitious project. That's one that's been lingering on your mind when you know you're actually capable of trying at least. So and as much as it's nice to farm some EXP, I'll still like personally recommend that you take the leap. Just try and make a good game after you found enough experience. So that leads us to our next topic, which is that of character interactions. That feeling of not really being alone can really fill you with determinations, if you get what I mean. So what do I mean by character interactions? That would simply be networking. So networking, according to the dictionary, is the exchange of information and ideas among people with a common profession or special interest, usually in an informal or formal, I'm going to add that myself, social setting. So basically, there's this notion that a lot of new developers kind of face, and something that even I myself had actually gone through, which is we like to build in silence. Like there was actually that point, there's surely that point where we always end up just building in silence, like, okay, there aren't really much of us, so let me just keep doing it. I just want to make games all the time, so let me not bother really going out there and just telling people about the game, or let me not really bother to mingle with my peers because it might just simply be competition or something like that, which is quite frankly not the way. It is not that way. So many of us, myself included again, I also usually like caved in. Let's count that hermit. Well, not really hermit, that's kind of strong, but you get what I mean. That's introverted nature of us. Many of us, I feel, are introverts, where to kind of like just be so much in a phone call or a meeting or just interact with people, be it on social media, on a phone call, or just in real life. It's kind of very hard. But yeah, as painful as it is, we kind of just have to get out there and meet people. It could be physically via the likes of events or mixers, or just pretty much a neighbor that you know or a classmate that is quite frankly making games. Heck, you could actually end up getting in touch with people via maybe a group chat, and maybe you find that they're in the same area and you just simply meet up. And there's also the likes of connecting with people, which is via social media as a whole. That's kind of the more common ways and the more efficient ways. So where do we start from when it comes to socials? Where should we be? What's the more recommended one? A lot of us, especially for the indie game tutorials on how to become a successful game dev and the likes, there's usually the default recommendation of Twitter. And no, I will not call it X. I will never call it X. X should take a note from what we call NEPA here. It is Twitter, and it will always be Twitter. Anyways, so there's the default recommendation of Twitter, or there's the likes of Discord, or now Blue Sky, Reddit. I'm putting Threads there because I'm on Threads, but nobody really talks about Threads. Then there's LinkedIn for the professional stuff. And in as much as LinkedIn is kind of seen as that formal playground where everybody has to be serious all the time, I kind of feel like people are missing out on few opportunities by being on LinkedIn. At least just even having a profile or some form of existence that you are on LinkedIn. And basically, again, the same notion, that same technique that I mentioned about picking a tool or picking a steed also still applies here. It's still all down to comfort. Some of us are more comfortable in the business side of things, like in a corporate setting. LinkedIn might basically be a match made in heaven for them. Some of us are more used to the likes of Facebook. Some of us are more used to the likes of Twitter. Some of us are used to Threads. Some of us are used to Discord or Blue Sky or Car, Mastodon, whatever. And some of us actually end up being like more comfortable in both, and we could actually end up just mix and match it up. For instance, my main social media apps are usually the likes of Threads, Discord, and WhatsApp. Yeah, I'm pretty sure nobody really uses WhatsApp over there, but a lot of us over here use WhatsApp. And to be quite frank and honest, a lot of the opportunities that I've gotten exposed to came from Discord and WhatsApp more than any other social media app out there, which is wild to say the least. But to each them. So down to this entire thing, there's this advantage of gaining connections in the industry, which is also one of the main advantages of actually, getting out there and networking with people, be it physical or what I just simply mentioned. And that's where we end up learning that the gaming industry, the video games industry, is quite frankly a pretty small world. Nobody really knows who's watching, and we never really realize it. For all we know, whatever you do here on Twitter that may not really get noticed could end up being noticed by maybe an industry veteran, maybe somebody that has been working at Bungie or something for over 20 years. You just can't know, which is one of the benefits of it all. And from this connection to that connection to that connection, you can actually end up gaining more and more opportunities. It could be from publishing, it could be from investments, or it could also simply be for advice that we can actually use to still gain more experience and level up, or even just simply reputation. And one of the best ways to do that is, yeah, this is going to be a hot take, but be yourself, or should I say, be the best version of you can be. Be kind, be at least willing to listen, because people actually like to offer the things that they usually like. People like to tell their stories in a sense. So you can actually tell your story. Maybe it could be this cool thing that you found in the middle of development, and you could also find it like a time to get to listen to what they have to say. And the same thing kind of also applies to gaining an audience. Like as a game developer, like you have to get an audience, people that would actually buy your game. And social media is still one of the efficient ways to do it. Of course, there are events, but if you're a person like us that are trying to like save as much money as possible, social media is still the way to go. And people that usually follow a creator on social media usually do it either for two reasons: the game that the person is making, like simply just the game, and that's usually after release or during development, or usually because of the personality, that's the man or the woman or the person behind the game. So that's kind of my takeaway. And it's something that I'll strongly encourage more indie developers should do. So we've gotten our steed, we've gotten our EXP, we've gotten our reputation, we've increased our charisma from connections, and we've gained enough experience as well. I'll say that again. We've gotten our experience as well from the projects that we've been making. So we finally done it. It's that moment. We finally wake up and we look at that our journal of ideas or our notepad of ideas or Trello or whatever we use to document our ideas and figure it's time. It's time to take that leap, which is where we finally get to face the final boss, which is to make our dream game. This is the real moment here. So a lot of us have, well, I won't say a lot of us, but let's just say some of us, especially to those that are kind of still fresh in the industry, have kind of made the, well, not even just only beginners, but people even that are still having a ton of experience, tend to make this very, very common mistake of simply trying to make that game that really inspired them without actually observing the market out there. Like, okay, I really like this particular game that came out in the year 2002 or 2008. It was one of the best games of its era or something. And I figured I was so inspired by this game that I decided to actually do it again in a time where the trend of that game has already been long gone, which means that it's either that you're appealing to a niche or it's too niche to the point where the audience is quite small, or people just basically lost interest and the amount of revenue that you were thinking that you would have gotten ended up just not happening. And I don't want to throw any shades there, but I think we are kind of seeing that with the whole life service games, anyways. But I digress. So out there, before we end up starting our dream game or how we work on our dream game, of course, there's the usual process of creating a prototype, figuring out what makes the game actually fun. That's the core mechanism that makes the game fun. Heck, you could make a game that is all about jumping, but how do you make that jumping fun? And that's one of the key points of a prototype, not just simply to just whip up the character controller and call it a day. That's where the real juicing up begins, where you actually find out what makes a game fun before expanding on it, not only just through the lore or the story, but basically from the gameplay's perspective. But while we do that, we have to simply get out there, well, not only get out there, but maybe boot up Steam or Epic Games and actually check out what is trending, what's really popular these days, what people like, or maybe not even what people like, but more of the features that people like. For instance, maybe fishing is a mechanic that people like in a lot of recent games. You could see how that can actually be implemented in your game. Or maybe it's building or crafting. Because I mean, there's already a data proving that people on Steam usually like simulating or crafting games. You could check that out. But basically, my point is to observe the market as possible, especially in your niche. So you don't really have to make the main simulation game or something that is usually trending on Steam or a horror game, but you could also take a look at the games that are in your niche. Maybe you're making a platformer or you're making an FPS game. That's already a niche, a certain genre where there's an audience already on standby. But you actually have to figure out what they like in those games, especially the ones that are popular. And not only just the popular ones, but you also have to take a look at the ones that failed. You have to learn from people's failures as well as much as their success, because focusing on just simply one can actually end up being a catalyst for the likes of survivor bias. Did I say that right? Yeah, survivor's bias, something like that. So yeah, you have to observe the market as early as possible and check out what is new and trending in your niche. You also have to find that spark, what inspires you. I mean, I get that at first I can't just simply dismiss that notion of, okay, you played this game at a certain time, you really liked it, and decided to do it, but it's more of a balance, anyways. You have to figure out, you have to observe your markets while actually see following that thing that actually inspired you to make a game. And by inspiration, I don't simply mean just games. At all, you can find inspirations from anywhere. It could be from a book, it could be from maybe the Band and the Banished series, that's the book series, or it could be from a movie, maybe The Lord of the Rings, or it could be from a video game like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild or Undertale or maybe GTA 6. I'm just kidding about that, but you get the point. You have to find that spark because finding that spark can be one of the things that actually feel your passion because nobody out there would easily enjoy making something that they don't like because that doesn't simply end up being what you would want to call a passion project or a dream game. It simply ends up being, how do I put it delicately? It either ends up being a chore or just a regular job. For instance, let's say you're working in a AAA game studio. Normally, you may be working on you may be a part of development team for a game, and that game may not actually be something you like, but you just do it anyways because I mean you're getting paid. You gotta feed yourself. You actually have to take care of yourself or maybe your family, but you do not enjoy that particular thing that you're working on. So that's kind of what it's like to not have that spark. And since you're an indie developer and you most likely be working alone without any source of funding, not except just only yourself, you have to find that thing that actually push you forward during the tough times when you're working on your game. So that's that spark. And this is also why connections are very, very important. Because normally I already talked about things like avoiding the likes of scope creep or feature creep in the side quest bits where we're talking about game jams and force us to avoid that. But even despite that experience gained from game jams, people can still tend to fall into that pitfall of, oh, I suddenly have to do this. Maybe I'll suddenly be making this particular thing that may be a very big game or an MMO that will rival the likes of World of Warcraft or GTA 7 or the Nigerian God of War. I'm bringing that up again because that has happened a lot. So yeah, due to these connections that you build, you would inevitably come across people that definitely either have less experience as you or the same experience as you or more importantly more experience than you in the industry that will completely obliterate that delusion of I'm just simply going to make X game and just simply do it this way, maybe with very little or no marketing at all, or I'm not going to test the game or do this or that, and suddenly expect to make in billions of dollars. I'll make Microsoft blush or something. Yeah, so we need that connection as a way to actually shatter that delusion. It could also even come from the likes of our player base. Maybe you were making this particular feature thinking, okay, it's going to simply be perfect this way. But when you actually end up having an audience, when you actually get to connect with your audience and actually ask for their feedback and they tell you that they don't like this. They like this part about your game, but they don't really like this thing, and it would be best if you fixed it or removed it. That grandeur is gone, and you actually get to buckle up and actually work on your game properly. I won't say perfectly because no game is perfect. Even the 10 out of 10s, they are not perfect. So you will actually get to improve your game and actually fix it in a way that is actually pleasant and more fun. And this is where the prototype bits will actually still come to play again because you actually get out to figure out your game's hook as much as possible because it's very crucial at the time as a game dev. For instance, okay, yeah, let me get into the definition of what a hook is in a video game. Let's assume you wanted to sell a game to an audience out there. They would surely want to ask, like, why should I buy this game? What's it about? The hook is usually a one-liner or a two-liner that just simply gets people interested. Like, for instance, we have Power World, which is basically Pokemon with guns. That is it. We all know what Pokemon is. It's a no-brainer at this point, but with guns, come on, everybody will surely be interested. Or what is GTA? You can be a criminal, you can wreck stuff, all in an open world. That's GTA's hook. Or Tetris, you destroy blocks. It's a puzzle game where you destroy blocks. Or, like in the case of my game, The In Between, which is a game about choices. You get to do this or that and you get judged for it. That is already its hook. And a lot of us, not a lot of us, but people tend to take that hook for granted. And it's usually something that people tend to struggle with a lot. And personally, I would like to share a short story about that because during my time working on the in between, there was a brief period, especially like a year or two, where I had absolutely no idea what the game's hook is. Like I could feel it. I know what made the game fun, but we couldn't quite say what made it fun, like what was really important about it. It would either be a very long paragraph that would kind of make the Bible blush in terms of number of texts, or it will simply be underwhelming or just simply be borrowing a lot of features from another game. Oh, it is this game and this game and that game. But that was when I ended up getting a wake up call from a review a while back that there are people out there that would have absolutely no idea what game you are describing. Like some people don't know what Undertale is, or some people don't know what a Metroid game is or a Metroidvania is. So how would you explain your game to them in that aspect? And that's usually where the hiccup actually started. And how I ended up getting my hook was usually through the likes of two things. It was via the story, and it was also through people that I've already interacted with who happened to get their hands on the game and managed to give me their feedback on what made the game special to them. And that was where the consensus came in that they love to explore. They like the fact that they could do this thing and they could actually just see the results of it. Basically, the choice. Like they liked that they had that choice to do this without any hand holding or much of it at all. And that was it. That was when we realized that the in between was a game about choices and it was playing along in its story and it had been tied to its gameplay. And finding a hook can be a very, very wonderful thing because you actually get to figure out what to do next. And that hook can actually also end up being your anchor, where, okay, you want to expand the feature. Maybe you wanted to add something to the game. Maybe it could be an extra plot line or an extra level. You can actually now get to reference it to the hook. Like, does it fit what you are working on? Does it fit what makes the game special? If it does, and you have the resources for it and it doesn't seem too big, you can add it. But if not, you have to scrap it and put it in another project entirely or just forget about it. So there's a huge power in that hook. And last but not the least, iteration is key. Some of us actually like want to build the game from the ground up with maybe without revising the code or revising the gameplay. Like maybe there's some things that can need polish or improvements and whatnot. And that's or we may end up actually building the game to the point where we end up just reaching some kind of brick wall. Like I don't really know where to go from here. Maybe the code is too buggy. I think it's crashing here, or the assets become too big. The topology of our 3D models are kind of all over the place. This is really the part where we would have to brace ourselves and actually iterate on it. And the scary part about iteration is that fear of having to spend sleepless nights, days, weeks, or even months trying to rebuild the same thing over again. Or it's a fear that you may end up actually having to end up building an entirely different game. But if there's one thing that we've learned about change, it's that change can be a very good thing. And there's actually this other thing that I ended up realizing that was a game changer. Like for instance, the in-between actually ended up going through three major iterations during the time of development. From the prototyping phase where people was that's the main character was supposed to be using a sword to be slicing things around before it ended up getting changed into a gun. And the gun is to shoot gigantic bullets. And the dashing didn't even have triple dashing or double dashing, it was just the usual generic horizontal dash only until a bug happened that caused him to be able to dash upwards and downwards, or even up a slope, which could be forced diagonally. So the game basically had to be done from scratch because that was a bug, and bugs never really go well, even if they're intended to be a feature. So it's usually wiser to try and replicate that bug to see if there's a way to make it more stable. So the first version of the game cost me 4 months of development. The second iteration that I was dreading that would take maybe longer because I actually had to figure out how this bug worked, surprisingly took me 2 weeks. Then the third iteration took a week. It was shocking because that point, we realized that pretty much the assets that we had already worked on, from the various character designs and the in-game asset designs, had already been set in stone, as well as how the code is structured. So it was basically a slam dunk from there. But the advantage of it all is the game ended up being more stable, it became more fun, and we were able to easily add more fun elements into the game without sacrificing a lot of time or energy. So iteration is also very powerful and is something that is easily recommended to any developer, from professional or a beginner. So you have to use what you learned in the middle of development to improve or polish your game. And one of those ways is usually through the likes of feedback and so on. Then there's this thing about creating a dream game that is kind of also something that we need to keep in mind. There are so many components that can aid us when it comes to creating our dream game. Of course, there's the likes of having proper programming knowledge or artistic skills, or music skills and so on. Or maybe we actually manage to improve our connection so much to the point where we actually end up forming a proper team. Maybe you are not really good at art and you end up meeting somebody that is skilled at art, and both of you actually got to vibe, and next thing you know they're on board. Or somebody that is very good at the business part of things, it can actually help you try and sell the game out there, or help you out when maybe the future publisher comes in, or how you handle your budgets or your future Kickstarter plans, stuff like that. However, there's still the same components even down to the single individual or the single team when they're working on their game. There's the likes of logic. Naturally, you can't do things without reason. Then there's also the likes of passion. There's also the likes of money. So I kind of like to imagine the whole process like a smartphone, for instance. So we have the likes of the screen, the battery, the casing, the camera, all those very tiny components that alone may basically be useless, or slightly useful, but basically useless. But all combined together, you end up getting a product that's actually really good. So I like to picture passion as the battery. And naturally, too much of everything is still not good. So for a lot of people, they're usually fueled by only passion. Where they would say, okay, I will do this thing and nothing's gonna stop me, or I'll keep doing it no matter how it happens, even if it ends up being unreasonable, which can end up being the downfall of a particular game or a studio. So passion is what fuels the development speed. Then there's also the likes of actually applying logic to steer the ship to prevent it from actually falling off or just being of a poor quality overall. So we actually need to get a clear understanding of these things in order to truly be able to build something well. So we have to have our passion as our battery, our logic as a screen, stuff like that. And last but not the least, the other interesting part about making a game, which is an emotional game. So what do we mean by an emotional game? Now, some people would easily assume it's just simply, okay, maybe you're making a game and it has a very good story, a touching story, like The Last of Us or Celeste or Undertale. But that's not only simply an emotional game. For instance, Astrobot, one of the recent beloved games on the PlayStation 5, is an emotional game. Like, it leaves you emotional. When you play that game, because of how perfect it is, you are filled with joy. You actually get to enjoy this thing. Or maybe in a game like Helldivers, that feeling of being with your fellow brothers as you liberate the different worlds all over the cosmos, that's an emotional game, even though it doesn't really have any major touching stories at all. So we have to actually learn how to tap into that emotion. And it can actually also be tapped into within and beyond the game. So people love a good story, no matter where. It could be from the development period, like we've seen maybe we've suddenly seen it. Okay, yeah, I'm sure some of us have said of something like Indie Dev, the movie. We saw how touching it was and how inspirational it was to actually get us to want to buy that game, play the game, and see how it's like. Or better yet, to actually just jump into game development as a whole. That's how powerful a good story is, and we actually need to learn how to tap that. And we can easily find that experience as well from the same core hook that is found in our games, or even just from our lives. Maybe we are living in a time of war, in a time of peace, or in a time of serenity. We've got to tap into that thing that can actually get people hooked, which is part of the emotions in there. Like, for instance, I'm tapping into a game about choices. Now, this is something that we got to observe during our time as an African, where things are very tough. getting a game on Steam was basically like fighting World War II. Yeah, the beef is still there. And yeah, basically all that experience ended up just being forged into what we ended up creating as is called the in-between. Because we could have easily just given up and just gone home and just done something like that, just been a web developer, a comic artist, or an animator or something. But we liked video games and we did not want to give up. So we had the choice to either just give up and go or to keep going forward, or better yet, to just simply complain and be bitter about it. And we chose our path. And that already is that same philosophy about choices is already being poured into the game. It's something that I can easily use when you're discussing about the game to keep us hyped enough and passionate enough to keep going. And it's also the same kind of feeling that players will end up getting to see when they play the game. So that is something that we all need to learn how to tap into while we work on our projects. However, too much of everything again is still never good. Let's assume, oh, we are suddenly like, let's assume we had a touching story. There's usually something called as a limit. Like, let's say you only simply focus on the emotions of a game, but you ended up making a game that doesn't really reflect that. Maybe the game is not fun, it has too many flaws. At the end of the day, that story ends up being viewed either as a pity party or rage bait or something that just ends up being so either underwhelming or frustrating or annoying. So we also have to be cautious about that. Last but not the least, there's not even usually, there is always going to be a time where making a video game will actually end up leaving us with that moment of existential thoughts like, was this a waste of time? Was my parents right that I should have just chased that computer science degree? Should I have just been a web developer? Should I have just simply put the fries in the bag or something? I don't know. But yeah, that thing can easily mess with our minds. And once our mind is already stressed or at unease, it will be super easy to just simply lose our way or just simply give up. And one of the ways that we at the studio usually do is usually by celebrating the wins, both big and small. For instance, we actually got the honor of actually being nominated as one of the best games made in GDevelop, the game engine that we use. Now, GDevelop is not like the biggest game engine in the world or anything, but that win was still something that was really, really, really heartfelt. We really, really liked it. And it was something that was a huge boost in getting us going to the point where we are slapping that thumbnail, that YouTube thumbnail, almost anywhere from our pitch decks to our board to our laptop screen. There's an icon on my desktop that links to that image right now. It's a tiny win, but we still celebrate it every now and then because it's a reflection of how far we've gone and what we're actually capable of doing. And there's this thing that we kind of call, it's supposed to be a secret, but I'm just end up saying, like this thing that we call the past, present, and future approach, where whatever you actually gain from the past, you apply it in the present. Like, okay, let's say you got yeah, like in a roguelike, for instance. You start out at level 1, maybe with a basic cutlass like in Dead Cells. You defeat some enemies, you get enough money or something, and you get bigger loot, or you get a better ability. You use that to get a better ability. You defeat the boss and you get a powerful relic. Stuff like that. So in the game dev space, basically, they use that win, we nurture it, we nurture that hype, we apply it to whatever we are doing now. Maybe it's a competition or basically even in the development of the game itself. And then I use that to actually end up multiplying the hype train or the praise train or whatever in order to keep going forward. So celebrate the wins, both big and small. You have to nurture that hype as much as you can. It's like a plant. You got to water it from time to time or else it will eventually wither and die. So we've come a long way and we have to appreciate that, and this is as a stepping stone for progress and success. So yeah, basically that was the past, present, and future approach anyways. And with this, we are going to do a recap, which is we've picked our stage. We've already gotten a handle on what kind of tools we need to use. Oh, my bad. Yeah, we've already gotten an idea on what to use. Word of mouth is good, yes, but relying on only just one thing rather than the varieties of life can actually end up being detrimental to our growth. So sure, focus on word of mouth. What engine is popular right now? What other engines are there? How are they used? Like, let's say you want to make an RPG, You could use Unity or GDevelop, but they may end up being more complex, but you could end up using an engine that is more tailored to that, like our PG Maker. You want to make a photorealistic 3D game, GDevelop definitely cannot handle that. And Unity is there, but let's just say it's not quite there yet. So you need to use something that's as powerful as a truck to do that, which is Unreal Engine. So we got to figure out the steed, and that's one of the best ways to do that is via experience. When you get your hands on the tools yourself, you actually get to use. And you also have to end up grinding via small projects like game jams, especially game jams. And we also have to end up boosting our connections by networking with people, because this is a very huge way to actually gain access to opportunities. It could be funding, it could be help, or it could even be outsourcing. Maybe we have something that we need to do in again, like porting. And through these connections, now you can actually find people that are right for the job, people that will be glad to help you, stuff like that. Then there's also the power of an emotional game, a game that taps into the player's feelings in a sense. So something that would encourage them to actually want to like shut up and just give you their money, something like that. And that's something that we also don't need to forget. And last but not the least, my major takeaway is we actually have to end up looking inwards into what we're actually doing, and use that as a way to kind of like figure out where to go next. Basically, our anchor. Because there will be many moments where you would actually feel like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Or you can end up getting distracted, or as my friend likes to call it, a villain arc, where, okay, I'm suddenly doing so well. Let me kind of regress and suddenly start doing things that was not how people recognize the young, passionate upstart that you were before. So, yeah, there's that. So you have to find our anchor, the thing that actually keeps us going. We actually end up having to have our passion intact, but also in check for it to not cloud our judgment in the future as we develop. And with that being said, I would like to thank you all for giving me the chance to actually give this presentation. Yeah, basically, I just chucked a lot of things in here with memes and all, but overall, thank you for the time. And I've got to answer any questions, and you can actually end up following me on any of my socials. I'm on Feds. So with that being said, bye.
Let's just go for a mullet. You know, and that looks great, honestly. Good job. You look great. Next. Okay, we got some of these. What the hell does this do? Oh, okay, curls it. Well, that's great. We got one of these guys. That just kind of blows it around, I guess. All right. Oh, goodbye. What am I supposed to do with this? Okay, we're gonna have to probably just clean some of this up. Honestly, not sure if we're gonna get that fixed. Probably best to just cut off a bunch of it, I think. Oh god, the hair's getting everywhere. It's all over my shop. Ugh. Okay, well, let's shave you kind of just on one side and, yeah, just everywhere. Okay, get out of here. Really gotta figure out how to turn these off. Ultra clutch hair cement. Okay, here you are. Let's curl left side, colors. Good enough. Next! What's it gonna be this time? You have too much hair. We can.
Wait, you know what I want to do?
What? What do you think it would be about?
If they made our lives a movie, it would be boring.
刺武汉火车票一张。
我要去武汉，我是为了先把你带了。
武汉只让进不让出，现在。
武汉不是
不进也不能进了，你们俩这往这儿。浪呢？浪呢？
Hello, how are you? Hey, it's you. I'm saying hi to you. Can you see me? I'm over here, on the left side of the screen. Oh, you want to interview me? Okay. Well, my daily job is just waiting here. Boring? Maybe a little bit. Oh, what, my dream? To go to Coney Island. I wanted to go to the beach, enjoy my vacation life. I've always wanted to know what swimming feels like. It must be different from getting drenched in the rain, right? But I know I can never get there. I'm just a trash can. I think I might spend my whole life here on 363 Lafayette Street. Huh? Is this a balloon? How did you know that yellow is my favorite color? Thank you. Hey, come back. Wait, I'm not done yet. Wait, come back. Wait a second. I feel something different. I feel like my body's getting lighter. Wait, am I finally going to Coney Island?
Believe me, go straight till the morning, no lie, we won't wait. And we're taking everything we want and we can do it all straight. We ain't stopping, believe me, go straight till the morning, no lie, we won't wait. And we're taking everything we want and we can do it all straight. No slip, all straight.
Inside every creator lies a guiding star, a unique vision waiting to illuminate the world. At Stella Maris, we're not just a partner, we're your compass. With tailored mentorship, essential tools, and unwavering support, we nurture your brilliance. Discover your path, unleash your creativity, and let your star shine brightly.
Sage's skin breaks out with beads of sweat. They trail down her hairline. Her body tells her to be on high alert. Sage feels like a presence is eyeing her. Yet when she turns to look around, there's not another person in sight.
fucking gun!
A trash can had fallen down.
Oh, calm down, Sage. It's nothing.
As Sage turns to the left, she glances at the prone form of what is actually a person. Before she can get a good look, something blurs past her and latches onto her right hand with a sickening crunch. Naomi injects Sage with the serum. A few seconds pass and nothing happens until...
Fuck! It burns! It burns, Naomi!
Fuck, what? What is happening? Naomi and Sage watch in horror as the creature eats away at what's left of Sage's hand and starts moving up her arm. Sage's flesh ripples and drops to the floor.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her.
Wait, what?
If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
Now hold on a second. Don't you listen to him. What did I ever do to you?
She will do everything in her power to stop you.
Well, yeah. I don't want to die.
She'll charm and she'll lie and she'll promise you the world, and if she has the chance, she will kill you 12 times over.
Is he even listening to me?
Don't forget, the fate of the world rests on your shoulders.
You're not actually going to try and slay me or anything, right? Because I wouldn't if I were you.
If you try, I'll kill you as many times as it takes.
Hello and welcome to the talk, Game Making with Empathy and Taking Care of Yourself in Hard Times. I don't think I really need to preface this, but in case you don't really know, the games industry is going through a really, really rough time right now with like unprecedented amounts of layoffs and redundancies and all sorts of things. And I've also been in the creative industry in general for a really long time, and it's really not an easy place to be in. So I wanted to talk about some of the tools and processes that might help, and also just in general share in some of the tough times. So hello, I'm Charlotte, and I'm a producer, 2D animator, and artist in the games industry, and I'm also a traditional artist, so I love to draw with markers and paint and all those kinds of things. I'm also an avid Ring Fit adventurer, which I'm going to talk about a bit more, as well as my enjoyment of eating the exact same lunch every day. And an interesting factoid that I've recently thought about is that I think I've been laid off of 100% of my full-time roles so far, which is a little, I think, scary to think about, but I think it also makes a lot of sense, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as well later on. So some of the things that I've worked on are also on this page as well, but I'm a part of Chirashi Games, Team Gramps and Queensguard in the games industry at the moment, and we're all working on very lovely, meaningful little games, and you can check them out. So what is taking care of yourself in hard times? What does that really mean? So I think there are really three main areas to cover, and an additional little area covering games and talking about how to make games with empathy. But obviously, I think it's really important to focus on taking care of yourself first before we talk about video game processes and all those things. The three sections that we're going to cover today is your rights. So what are some of the questions that you can ask when you're going through a tough time? What are your rights? What are your entitlements? What can you do? And this section is going to be quite specifically about the UK process, and I am not a lawyer, so please don't take this as like legal advice or anything. I'm not an employment lawyer or anything. I just know a little bit more about the processes now. The next section is your values and figuring out why you really care about all of this and what makes you tick. I think oftentimes redundancy and layoffs can bring out very specific reactions out of you, and it really brought a very specific reaction out of me. So I think talking about your values and why you really do what you want to do is really important in figuring out why you reacted that way, but also why you want to keep going. So we'll cover that as well. And then lastly, your hearts, the very important section of what recovery looks like and your steps towards that. Oftentimes after redundancy, I woke up always feeling a bit not myself. And the way I always talked about it was like, so finally today I'm waking up feeling like a human being again. Yeah, I think there are some steps that you can take to kind of help yourself feel that way once again. And then, lastly, we'll talk a little bit about video games. But obviously, we're here about the recovery. We can talk about ourselves. Okay, so let's cover the very first section that I've talked about so far, your rights. Redundancy in the UK. I wanted to note that layoffs is very similar, but layoffs usually refers to when your workplace just doesn't have enough work for you anymore. So the term is different, but I think the things that you're entitled to are quite similar. And again, like this is not the same for different areas, so different countries will have different processes, but I think if you know a little bit about what is available to you potentially, then you can also ask those questions or look for the right support, look for the right advice, and hopefully make the whole thing a little easier on yourself. Firstly, the first step of redundancy in the UK is a full team meeting, of course. So how this happened for me was there was a ominous Slack message that was inviting everybody to be in the team meeting. There are certain people who didn't always come to those team meetings, and that's fine. It wasn't usually a huge deal. But for this specific team meeting, there was a lot of pinging. Okay, so we were there. Additionally, a funny factoid about this team meeting was I was, at my old job, I was tasked with recording meetings. And when we first hopped into that meeting, I was like, I'm just going to let everyone know that I'm going to start recording now. And if anyone's uncomfortable with it, please let me know. And one of the upper management was like, Charlotte, you don't need to record this meeting. And I was like, okay, all right, So I think there are some signs, definitely, that things are not going so well. And this is going to be quite a serious chat. So in this meeting, you'll probably be told a little bit about like, oh, there are going to be redundancies happening. Why is it happening? Most of the team should be there to listen to this. And this is a great chance to start asking questions as a team. It can be really empowering to do that. I admittedly did not. I was just really in shock. So I didn't at all think about that. But if you are able to, at this point, I would totally encourage starting to ask questions about what that means, what that looks like. You might not get very fulfilling answers, and in general throughout this whole process you might not get very fulfilling answers in general, but it's always good to begin the process and advocate for yourself and for your teammates. So yeah, the next step is that in the UK it's a very bureaucratic process, so you'll get something called an at-risk email, or your job role is being labeled as at risk. So you're gonna get an email that will say like, oh, your job role is at risk of being made redundant. Your specific job is no longer needed. It's supposed to take out like the personal vibe of it, so it's not supposed to attack you as a person. It's not like you're struggling in your role. Your job is not needed. So that's what the gist of it is. And then you'll probably get something like a meeting to meet with upper management to discuss a bit more. So yeah, it's good to prepare for that meeting. So the first meeting that will happen, we'll talk a bit more about what does this all mean? Why is your job being made redundant? And something that I found out through my own research about redundancy was that I'm allowed to bring a friend. So I did decide to bring in one of my very close friends who I actually brought her in because I felt like she would be very good at kind of picking out some of the contradictions or like kind of listening out for things that don't really make a lot of sense. So she was really helpful with that. I made a whole list of notes and things and questions that I wanted to ask beforehand, and she was on that document live, and we were both working together to kind of sift through all the questions that I had, and it was really helpful. So if you are able to, I highly recommend bringing in a friend. A colleague is also okay, or a union rep. I actually opted to not bring in any colleagues because I just felt like I didn't want to muddle kind of the like working relationship, or if they aren't at risk, I didn't want things to be awkward. So yeah, I ended up not bringing in any colleagues. But so at this meeting, you're able to get your answers for your questions, and you can defend a little bit about why your job should exist. And additionally, I wanted to also note that if you don't really have the energy and everything's kind of very draining, I really wouldn't push yourself to go through with all of this, and you don't need to cause yourself so much pain, because oftentimes I think the decisions really have been made already, and this is just a process. So there's not really much to argue about, and there's not really much to do, really. You don't have much control over this at all. If you want to, ask lots of questions to better understand what's going on. If not, completely fine. And then the last meeting you're going to have is going to be a confirmation of if you've been made redundant or not. And you are also free to ask more questions here. But again, like, the decision has been made. So there isn't really, I would say there's not much to talk about, but that's totally up to you. So yeah, it depends on how much you want to ask about. There's not a lot of details you can also often get out of this. So once that meeting number 2 is over, you're probably going to get hit with it's not personal, or like people around you might say like, oh, but Charlotte, this is not a reflection of you. And that is absolutely true. You have to really work quite hard, I think, to remember that your job is not needed, and not that you are bad at your job. Your job is not needed because the business is going through things. Your employer is having problems, your employer is like not making enough money, all these kinds of things. So to like kind of break it down, there's probably business changes, there's reorganizing going on, your business might be closing, there's new technology being made that just makes your job no longer needed. It's not personal, and you have to really work quite hard to not internalize it as this means I am not good enough. But it's really hard to do that, and I completely understand. It's an active battle all the time. So acknowledging that is really helpful too. So, it really still hurts, and When you go through redundancy or layoffs, it hurts for everybody. People who are not made redundant and are still on the team, seeing all of your friends kind of disappear and no longer be there is really sad. I really wanted to acknowledge that. It's absolutely not okay that this happens. It isn't okay for businesses to get rid of their employees like this. It's always a business decision, all of these things, capitalism, blah, blah, blah. But you will be okay. Acknowledging that is very, very important. Hello, little cat. Hello. Some of the quick steps that you could do next is to rest and recover. Some of the next steps that you can do immediately after this could be to rest and recover, take some R&R time. The whole process can be super taxing and be really long, so it's really good to take a break. Definitely get your rest in. Next is to reach out to your network for support. Definitely reconnect with your friends locally or on things like LinkedIn or whatever social media. Reach out to people and see how they're all doing. And then you can maybe seek out finding your next steps and what is next on the adventure. So to hop over to the next overarching thing we're going to talk about is your values and what about being at that job made you tick, or what is some of your kind of core pillars and what are you all about. I think it's really important to nail these things down because I realized during the redundancy process that I was asking a lot of questions and I think some of them were a little controversial. I guess maybe not controversial. They caused a lot of very large reactions. So for example, I asked a question about why the upper management hasn't taken any cuts to their own paychecks, and that was handled quite personally. It was not like a problem with me or anything, but the question that I asked was quite personal. That was a really standout moment for me because I realized, oh, actually, there's something here that I'm looking for, and there's something that I'm looking for from this process, but I'm not going to get it. It's really important to think a little bit about what your core values are. I think there are like maybe 3 questions or like 3 areas you could look at for what your values are. It's very similar, I think, to kind of thinking about the pillars of your game. So what are some pillars that you look for in a workplace? Is it making narrative games? Is it like teamwork in a specific way? Is it like the, I don't know, like open floor plans or something like that? I don't know. It could be something very simple, but it could be something very important to you. What makes you excited to work there? Or you could maybe take a look at your goals, like where do you want to be in the future? Can you think about it in 2 years' time or in 5 years' time? It's really important to think about that, like the difference in thinking of like, oh, I really want to still be in a full-time job. Fair enough, then you can work towards that. Whereas like if you're thinking, maybe this full-time stuff isn't for me and I would prefer to be in freelance, that would totally make sense too. Your next steps might look really, really different to that. And how you react to your previous job or like what happened previously also makes sense towards that too. Thinking a little bit about where you are now, like what could you do right now that can help you? What is your positioning right now? So are you living comfortably? Are you comfortable with your income? Do you have the things that you need around you as well? They're all really important to look at to understand what happened. So for example, a little example for myself. So I think I've realized that one of my core values is accountability. I really value understanding like what happened. And I feel like I don't want people to take the blame, but I just want to understand how it all came to this. And for my previous workplace, I think I could definitely see some signs that things weren't going so well long before the redundancies were happening. It felt like no one else could, so it felt very odd to have that experience. And I've realized from that I really, really value accountability in teams. And I love teamwork. One of my favorite things about my past job was the team. I worked really hard to make a comfortable place for the team. I was like doing kind of like office admin, but I was able to like organize events and that kind of stuff, and seeing everyone come together and enjoying an event was really, really rewarding for me. And lastly, I've known this about myself for a long time, but when I work in indie games especially, I love working on cute, wholesome, meaningful games and projects, and it makes a lot of sense that even though I enjoyed my last job, it wasn't always the most rewarding because ultimately what I want to be doing is making cute games. And that's okay. Sometimes a job is a job, and like there are good and bad to all jobs. Next up, some of my goals. I think I want to continue making narrative games. It would be great to make them full time, but let's just see how that goes. That would be a great goal to achieve for sure. I'd love to open up an online shop, kind of continue. I have always been working freelance, and I've worked freelance for most of my life now, but actually getting some passive income from a little online shop, drawing some merch, sounds very good. Sounds really nice. And continuing with traditional art would be great as a goal. And right now, I feel like I'm doing okay. I'm keeping afloat, able to connect with communities, and doing talks like this is always really, really rewarding, and being able to kind of share in the experiences is really, really helpful. I feel pretty stable. I'm supported by lots of people around me, and I live in a very comfortable place. It's really grateful to have these amazing things, and I'm able to get a lot of rest. Most recently, I haven't been sleeping the best because of some stresses of another job, but rest is so important. If I'm able to get rest, I will sleep. I can sleep for 12 hours, honestly. Continue to draw with my sketch group and working on cute indie games. Literally just going on, manifesting the little things that I want to do. And another point about making these kinds of objectives or thinking about the future, it's really important to take your time, don't rush through it, and do what you can. Like sometimes days are hard, and it's really important to listen to your body and feel like a normal human being. So there are days when you don't want to do anything, and you can really shame yourself into a little spiral, and it really hurts to have times like that. So when you're feeling like that, I think it's important to acknowledge that and give yourself a little break. But something that can help work towards as objectives that won't cause your brain to be mad at you. I think you can break down your objectives into smaller goals. For example, my previous goal of opening an online shop, that's a pretty big objective, and I think when I think about it, it's kind of overwhelming, and yeah, my brain is always like, why haven't you got a shop yet? So I think some things I could do to break that down would be to brainstorm the logo, brainstorm the name of the shop, sketch some of the products, and research a platform to open the shop on. Or like maybe research some conventions to go to. I think breaking down your large objectives into actionable steps, things that you are able to achieve, is really, really helpful. And also noting it down can be incredibly helpful too. Next up, we're heading into recovery. This is, I think, my favorite section. This talks a lot about kind of your personal experience, but like what you can do personally, and it's going to be look very different for everybody. So this is kind of a little more about how I've recovered, and how sometimes I haven't recovered, but it's a more personal section. So definitely take what you will from this, and see how it feels for you. Some first kind of points about recovery is that recovery isn't linear, and there isn't a time frame for it. So I think a lot about grief when I think about recovery, and I think when you talk about grief, everyone gives you a large amount of time for grief. Like you can grieve for as long as you want. But I think when you talk about recovery for things like redundancy, layoffs, hard times, I think it's just a different. Everyone's kind of like, well, everyone's going through hard times and whatever. But I feel like recovery is not linear, and it's really important to be good to yourself and be very generous with your time for this. It will speed things up if you kind of give yourself a chance to recover, and it will really help with maybe things like burnout. If you push yourself to recover, I think you are actually pushing yourself towards something like burnout. So something important to consider is, are you experiencing burnout after a hard time? So after I was made redundant, I think I've been through maybe 2 times where I felt burnt out, and it's attributed a lot with times where I've pushed really hard to do something, and either failed or like not done it very well. So some of the symptoms you might be able to find for burnout is when you feel a little numb, tired, when you withdraw from your friends and you don't want to see anybody, or isolation, like you just want to stay inside a lot, that can be a sign of burnout. Recently I've gone very physically sick as well, and I think it's also a symptom of burning out. I think some jobs that I've taken on recently, or like a general feeling I've been feeling, is that I feel pretty checked out. And it's really a really sad feeling. Like, there are things that are coming my way that are very meaningful, and they're like, oh my god, these things align with my values so much, but I don't want to I feel really bad because I don't want to engage in it. And it's a really horrible feeling to have. So I would definitely check out and be curious about if you're burning out in that moment, and definitely be extra good to yourself if you are burning out. So listening to your body is really important, and seeing what you need in that moment. Something that has really helped me recover is my finding 3 rituals exercise that I've done. So I think 3 things that I've found has really helped me is waking up and not beating myself up about whatever time that I wake up. I've recently found out that there are like kind of different body clocks, in that people will want to naturally sleep at a certain time and wake up at a certain time, and everyone's time for that is different. And I think capitalism has led us to believe that the 9 to 5 is the way to go. But I don't think I'm a 9 to 5 person, unfortunately. So I think I wake up best at like 10 or sometimes 11. If I'm extra tired, I'm going to wake up at 1. And I will wake up at that time, and then I'm going to make a nice hot drink. A nice warm drink really helps me. Sometimes I have just hot water. Very delicious hot drink to have. Next up, I love to do a bit of exercise. And I think it's important to find the exercise that works for you. It doesn't have to be like intensive exercise, for sure. I think there are 2 things that I do that I would like class as exercise or like movement that really works out for me. So the first is very easy. Like, I have a handheld vacuum that I freaking love to use, and I just vacuum the whole house for a little bit, and it takes like 10-15 minutes, but it feels really good. Like, I'm walking around, I'm processing a lot. The like white noise of the vacuum is really helpful for drowning out all the sounds. And then the house is clean afterwards as well. It's like, wow, productive, and I moved, and the house is clean. Wow, so amazing. But the other thing that I love to do is I love the Ring Fit Adventure on the Nintendo Switch. I feel like I've definitely entered into a cult here, because I am obsessed with this game. Like, it has helped me build up a habit of kind of exercising for 10-15 minutes and feeling really good afterwards. It's a great game. I'm sorry to shill Nintendo for this section, but it's a really fantastic game for all levels of fitness, and you can kind of adjust and tune to how you feel. You don't have to work out for very long, but it helps you move, and you definitely build up a bit of a sweat. But additionally, they have a pretty good narrative RPG going on. So, for surprise, it's actually really good. So highly recommend that. But otherwise, finding a little movement that works for you is very, very important. And lastly, after I've exercised or done something, I will make a little yummy lunch for myself, mayhaps. And for me, that is the exact same noodles every day. It just comes with this. I just mix in the same sauce, and I make like 3 dumplings, and then that is it, and I love it. And after these 3 things are out of the way, I'm able to hunker down a bit and work on some next steps, and that might look like updating a portfolio, emailing some connections, applying for some jobs. But I think finding the 3 things that I can do every day, sometimes I can't do all 3 every day, and that's okay as well. If I can just do 1 or 2 a day, that is enough, usually, to get me to focus down on something. Okay, next up, I think it's really important to talk about prioritizing. I don't think many people realize that most people who work in the games industry, at least in the indie space, many people are also working full-time or part-time jobs alongside indie dev. It's definitely really important to prioritize your stability with income and your safety, and make sure that you are working sustainably when you are working in indie dev or doing creative things, or just going through life in general. There are incredible non-conventional ways to get into the games industry. I've seen people working for like museums and then ending up making games for the museums. It's amazing the different kinds of avenues you can find into the games industry. So if you're not able to immediately kind of land your next role, or you're feeling a little lost about what comes next, and I really want to like deconstruct that there isn't any shame in finding other opportunities and like casting a wider net for yourself to make sure that you're able to survive, keeping yourself afloat, and making sure you're able to live your life. There are so many things that you're able to do, and just because you're not doing them specifically in games doesn't mean that you are worth any less. So we're moving on very smoothly into finding what you love. The best thing about going through a hard time or going through redundancies or layoffs is that you're forced to take a break often, because whatever the ordeal was that you have been through has caused you to like come out on the other side and be like in a whirlwind of, wow, what the hell was that? So you get to take a little second to be like, okay, what is it that I like to do? And you can remember the things that really made you tick before. So what I found that has been very helpful for me is this redundancy and like this whole time has been really helpful in remembering the games that I really wanted to play. Currently, I'm very obsessed with Cyberpunk 2077, and that is partly to attribute to now having access to some consoles to actually play it on. But I think it's really important to find these things again that like make up who you are. You could also try out the nice cafe that you don't get to try. There's a whole bunch of cafes near where I live right now, and I love going to them. It's so nice to get to go to either the same one or try out a new one, but actually treating yourself to that little cup of coffee, it's very good. It's very nice. And another thing I would highly recommend is, I think especially if you have really struggled with, you've kind of come from a low income background or you've always been quite frugal, I absolutely would treat yourself to one nice thing. For me, that looked like going to my nearby supermarket, and there's always these little yellow stickers for things that are kind of going off, but they're still good. And I found a whole lemon tart that was supposed to be for 6 people, but I had the whole lemon tart for myself, and it was on a reduced sticker, and I was like, okay, that's a reasonable price, and I get to enjoy this for more than one day. So maybe treating yourself to a little nice dessert or something could be really, really helpful to kind of rejuvenate yourself, treat yourself well, and just remind yourself that you can get these things, and it's okay to get them sometimes. Next up is to reconnect with friends. I've already talked a little bit about this before, but if you weren't able to really speak to your friends while you were working, or you didn't feel like you had all the time that you wanted to chat, this is a perfect time to do that. Like, definitely take the opportunities to go and see them, chat with them, have dinner parties, whatever you can, and enjoy being able to connect with your friends again. But the main thing is, find the things that you didn't have time to do previously, and do them. Do them. Go for it. And then the last section in this overarching part is to remember who you are. And I think when you are stuck in a difficult time, you can get kind of pretty tunnel vision, and you don't get to see the full perspective of things that are happening around you. So especially when it's attached with a job. So I really want to reaffirm some of these things that I've written here, that you are more than your profession, you are more than enough, you are not your mistakes, and you deserve to be happy. I really struggle with kind of believing in all of these sometimes, and sometimes when you can say them out loud and manifest them, I think they can have a lot of power as well. So definitely please take these. So to recap, these are the 3 things that we just went through. We've just covered your rights, your values, and your heart. And I wanted to kind of expand these out a little bit to kind of general hard times as well, and don't have them attached so much to layoffs and redundancies. Lastly, I'm going to cover a little bit about game dev with empathy. Woohoo, we're here. So after kind of all of this self-reflection and kind of working on yourself for a little bit, I think applying that to game dev is kind of very similar. So some techniques of game dev with empathy I found are very useful, are listed out here. And I think I learned a lot about this kind of general topic when I first came into the industry, and I was able to join a lot of courses with Code Coven, who are an amazing organization that have really helped me kind of get my foot in the door, but also meet an incredible network of game developers. So I highly recommend kind of thinking about this as like kind of a little philosophy to apply to your creative work and the kinds of things that you want to do. So firstly, game dev with empathy, I think, relies quite hard on setting the right expectations. And setting expectations at the beginning is really helpful, but also checking in on them as you go is also really valuable too. So asking some of the hard questions of like, is this project paid or unpaid? And when will you get paid? Or what if you are unpaid, what kinds of other benefits come with that? Like, do you get to get some income when the game is released on Steam? All that kind of stuff. Like, knowing exactly what you're getting into is really important. Why do you want to work on this project? Like, why do your teammates want to work on this project? What are they getting out of doing this? And then lastly, some like practical things like how many hours you want to dedicate to this. If everyone's doing like 1 day a week, then you should also do 1 day a week. It could be a very flexible situation, and knowing this and knowing people's kind of bandwidths, capacities, inspirations, motivations before they start is very helpful. The next thing in game dev with empathy is to plan for uncertainty. It's bound to happen. Things are gonna go wrong. So I think it's best to expect that and to prepare for it rather than kind of let it go wrong and then, everything's happening and then you're going through a tough time. So planning for uncertainty can really help mitigate the things going wrong, or like they can help you feel a little better, at least, about when things go wrong. So some things that can help that is to scope flexibly. Maybe you have a few different kind of plans for the game of with different scopes. So like, we have this like high scope one, which is like, if everyone is able to do the maximum amount of time and if they are able to dedicate all of their time, this is the kind of vision of the game that we're looking for. And then we have like a medium scope that's like, we've taken out some of the like the frills and the nice things, but this is like the medium one. And then the low scope one is like, no one's got time, so this is like the smallest version of the game that we can make. And there is absolutely no shame in that. I think it's always good to practice and make what you can and see how things go. I think game development can be very flexible if you make it flexible. So definitely think about scope a lot. Next up is deadlines can be moved and negotiated. So I think this covers a lot about especially if you're setting your own deadlines and your deadlines are not they're not controlled by like a shareholder, or like a publisher or somebody who's like kind of overseeing everything. If you're able to move around your deadlines, then you absolutely should, especially if you're feeling pressured, feeling not good about certain things. Absolutely communicate to move that deadline. So then other people can know like, maybe we can cover this so we can achieve that deadline. Or you're able to just give yourself a little bit more time and a bit more grace to complete something to the best of your ability. It's really important to communicate that for sure. And then something that I picked up from a mentor while going through some Code Coven courses was she said something very sweet to a team that I'm a part of, and she said, "Nothing is ever truly urgent." And I think she said that because we were panicking about a deadline. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But I think it's a very poignant kind of thing to think about. And I think about it a lot, that like, if everything is urgent, then what does urgency mean? Like, and I read up a little bit about like, when you get that feeling of urgency, I think when I feel that, and then I think about this quote, that already gives me like a pause to plan or like think about what the next steps are, and not letting that urgency immediately take me and panic me is really powerful. So I think thinking about what is urgent and what is not. Next up, we have 70% of the time. It works every time. So I don't know why, but when I thought about this kind of overarching game done with empathy point, I was thinking about Anchorman. And I was thinking about how it is really uncommon for everyone to be operating at 100% all of the time, and immediately acknowledging that is very important. Like I said earlier, like there are so many people, especially in indie games, or just like kind of not AAA space people, there are so many people who are working side jobs on top of doing their game development. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense that people are not going to be working at 100% all the time. They're probably coming away from another job and then coming into game development. So it's good to have that in the back of your mind for your teams and for yourself. I'd highly recommend checking out Safe in Our World's traffic light system as well. So if you're kind of not wanting to share very specific things about how you're feeling that day, it could be really helpful to just say, yeah, today I'm kind of feeling like amber. Like that means like I'm able to do like most of my tasks. I may need some support, but like this is how I'm feeling today. I think the traffic light system is a really, really helpful way to talk about how you're feeling without going into too much detail. Lastly, we have small games. Please make little games that make you happy. I have always loved signing up for game jams and making weird little games within like 4 days or like a weekend. I think it really motivates me and inspires me to see all the different kinds of things and ideas that can come out in such a short period of time. So definitely make small games. Keep them small and achievable, and you're able to learn so much from that. Like, what style of game dev works with you? Like, do you prefer a team that is very like connected and they love going on voice chat and video all the time? Do you prefer a team that is a little more like async? Like, we don't really voice chat that much, everything's in text. You can see what kind of works really well with you. Additionally, you're also able to think about things like what you like working on. Is this like a genre of game that you like? Is it the topic that you enjoy? Is it the narrative that really inspires you? What is it that you like making in games? And lastly, when you make small games, you're able to fail hard and fail really fast, which is really, really great, actually. When you're able to make mistakes and fail, you actually learn so much from that, and you get to know like, oh, actually, yeah, that didn't work because of this. These are all such valuable lessons to learn as well. And the buck doesn't stop there. You know, there's so much you can do after knowing that you failed at something. And it's totally fine. You failed. Everyone fails. This is all good. So I really wanted to end this presentation with an affirmation to just go out and game develop. Be the game developers. Go out and make the amazing things that you're making. Go out and embrace the experimental. Look into art games, like all of the new audiences that can be reached, alt controllers, all these different kinds of things that you can explore. Make sure to treasure the jank. Embrace the fact that games are made by human hands. We work so hard to bring these things to life and to create these experiences for people. It's all so valuable and so worth something, even if it's not seen by so many people and it's very special to you. It holds so much worth, and it is so important. And lastly, make those mistakes, fail fast, fail hard, and embrace the journey. The mistakes are what make you you, and there's so much to learn from them, and there is so much value in making them. Thank you so much for listening to my talk. This was such a lovely experience to do. It was really kind of interesting and like a great way to kind of reflect on such a really tough year. So I really appreciate all of you for listening and taking this in. Please let me know if you have any questions or things that you would like to ask. You're very welcome to email me at frangiepang@gmail.com, or you can also get in touch with me at SharkT1 on Twitter or X, and I'm at frangiepang on Blue Sky and Instagram. If you're interested as well, you're welcome to also check out some of the little games that I have been working on with some amazing teams. I've got them at teamgramps.com, trashygames.com, and queenscott.games. Thank you all so much for listening, and I cannot wait to see all the amazing things that you do.
Oh, straight, we ain't stopping, believe me. Go straight till the morning, no lie, we won't wait. And we're taking everything we want, and we can do it. Oh, straight, we ain't stopping, believe me. Go
every creator lies a guiding star, a unique vision waiting to illuminate the world. At Stella Maris, we're not just a partner, we're your compass. With tailored mentorship, essential tools, and unwavering support, we nurture your brilliance. Discover your path, unleash your creativity, and let your star shine brightly.
new world, a new home, a new family. Adventure beyond the safety of your home and confront what lies in waiting. Defend your flock from the perils of this world, but don't be late. For dinner, forage, fish, and farm to stock your pantry. Improve your home and tend to your flock, but look out for Shub. He takes quick to a love potion. Guide your flock through this world, for you are not alone. You shall... Hush, please, I'm doing something. You shall... What do you want? Oh, you want to say it together? Well, all right. You shall not pause.
creator lies a guiding star, a unique vision waiting to illuminate the world. At Stella Maris, we're not just a partner, we're your compass. With tailored mentorship, essential tools, and unwavering support, we nurture your brilliance. Discover your path, unleash your creativity, and let your star shine brightly.
What an amazing day of talks. Thanks to all the speakers, exhibitors, and everyone who tuned in to watch. I hope you got interested in more games and learned something along the way. But Super Festival is not done yet. We're here all 7 days from November 25th to December 1st, and there's still plenty more festival to go. Be sure to check out our special Super Festival website for more information about the exhibited games, our speakers, our stream schedule, our upcoming online workshops, and more. Also, if you're in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, be sure to see our map to check out the Tron arcade machines throughout the city. And join us this Saturday at the Hand-Eye Society Ball. Once again, a huge shout out to our amazing sponsors. Thank you to Ontario Creates, the City of Toronto, the Province of Ontario, the Toronto Arts Council, the Ontario Arts Council, and the Canada Council for the Arts, as well as our studio sponsors Clever Endeavor and Stella Maris. Well, that's all for today. We'll be back tomorrow with more talks and games. Thank you for watching, everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow.